Bing bong, bing bong. Bong 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 bong. Oopsie, I forgot to take this. That's probably important. Hello, everybody. Oh, oh, it's been a nice day around here. The weather, at least, has been really, really nice, which doesn't always bode much. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot to switch my uh, speaker things over. We discovered I had problems if I didn't actively disable. All right, so that should cover us. I've been binge watching Jessica Jones on. Uh, that was another good season. Still the best of all those Marvel shows on Netflix. The first season of Daredevil I quite liked as well. Pardon me. Okay, let's see where we are. Unfortunately, we've hit a scene where I'm missing a voice, so we're going to skip ahead a bit and play with Jane and Annie through a series of scenes that they're in, and which are going to be, let's see, need to make a list. Oh no, that's episode 9. Don't need that yet. Um, we've got, what are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 5. This episode has a lot of scenes, which is part of the trick here. 5 we have to skip. 6 we have to skip. 7 is very short but has Jane and Annie in it. We'll work on that one. And anyway, so I'm working on, among other things, planning in my head. I know it's planning is all very well, but it sometimes, doesn't. It falls by the wayside as often as not, and that's life. Um, but I want to do a big package of sound effects, vocal sound effects, because just put them all together and sell it for $5 or something. I do. I do want to sell it. I want to try to make some money a little bit. Doing a few things, but I'm trying to find a piece of paper because I wanted to write some stuff down. Because of course I take notes on paper because I'm old fashioned, even though I'm right here at the computer. um, but I've been working on different kinds of things that I can put into an effects package of that sort. Um, why did my keyboard switch? Oh, right, because I had to shove everything around. I've lost my clock. How annoying is that? I know it sounds really stupid. I've got a clock above my computer. I like rotary clocks. It's me. I like clocks because I like a clock I can read from across the room, and I've discovered that fewer and fewer um, digitals do that for me as my eyesight gets old. So, I of course I have a rotary clock, and of course with daylight savings evil bullshit time, I had to take the clock down and change the time. And when I put it back up, sometime during the night, the uh, cheap ass thing that it was hanging off of the tack decided to let go and break and dropped the whole thing behind my desk. And I can't get back there without shoving furniture around. So I'm very, very annoyed. And I have to go buy a new clock. But, wasn't what I was going to say. That's why I was concerned about being late. I put a message in the chat room here about starting thereabouts because it's without being able to stare at that clock. I'm like squinting at the tiny little number in the bottom of the screen. I want my fucking clock back. I'm just staring at this broken thumbtack on the wall going, why? I hate daylight savings time. It is the biggest scam these days. I mean, it's one thing, back in the day, and it's a totally different. Frankly, it's a government plot to keep us all off balance twice a year. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. This is a very short scene, as you can see. Let's start with
8.
Annie. Ah, there we go. 8. 8! Or 8 it. Or 8 it. Or 8 daylight savings time. But when I'm thinking of doing this, set of voice special effect type things, because you hear the same damn screams and cries and background noises in like all the video games in the world. You hear the same creepy kids rhymes over and over again. I mean, frankly, I could even do some like whistling and Christmas carols and sleeping noises. I mean, there's so many different noises. Somebody actually on Facebook was asking about sleeping noises that aren't actual snoring, because it wouldn't be appropriate for the character, and all sorts of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, a package of that. I mean, I don't know how to market it, but I could post it around a few places and just put into the package, hey, it's $5. Please don't distribute this to other people, because if it does get distributed without me getting paid, I can't make more. That's the big problem with the internet, with anything electronic trying to be sold on the internet, is that people are too eager to bootleg things. And that's one reason that I am so adamant about sending people to sources for things. I mean, it's like, people are like, oh, do you have any sound effects for blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, you can get it here. Well, yeah, but don't you have them? I'm like, yeah, I have them, but I'm sorry, you can get them at this place. And, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me sound like a bit.
Nah, we got.
Makes me sound like a bitch sometimes, but I'm like, no, we've got to. If I expect people to respect my intellectual property,
Nah.
I have to do the same for others. I have to do the same for others. I mean, it's just right. And I worked in intellectual property at a law firm that did intellectual property for many years, and when I was doing that, I learned there's a lot of things that people have to do. And I got in some argument with this twit recently, and she's like, well, if you post it, it's free. And I'm like, no. And this was about some pictures I've done. I've cleaned up my scans, my cleanup. And she's like, well, there's no copyright involved. It's free. I'm like, no. It's called a derivative work. Yes, the original photograph is out of copyright, but it's my scan and my cleanup and my work. You're stealing my work. And she's like, I'm sure it's free. I'm like, well, then tell me what page you're posting it to so that I can report you if you're so sure of yourself. Sorry. It's just, there are things like, derivative works. And also there's things like music. And this is one of the things that we talk about a lot in audio drama, is music. Because, obviously, we like to use music in our shows. And the problem is that, of course, we have to find some music. And so, but and people are always like, well, I mean, my show is free. It's not like if I use Nirvana anybody's gonna care or notice. It's like, okay, yeah, actually, they probably will, and uh, it's part of the thing that people don't understand is that a rights holder, somebody who has rights in an intellectual property product of some sort, um, there is a certain amount of use protect it or lose it involved, more with trademarks than with copyrights. But the idea is that they have to, if they find out about something, they have to protect it, and find out about something being infringed, they have to protect it, or they could lose their
Ain't we
right.
going back? Ain't we going back?
And so, yes, they have to care, even if it's not something where there's any money being made. It's not just pure bitchiness, it's actually the law. But also one thing that we easily forget is, like, people go, well, that song's out of copyright, I don't have to worry about it, right? Well, yeah, you do, because a song can be out of copyright, but the performance isn't.
Nah, we got places to be.
And so, you end up with this but you end up, so people are always like, oh, well, I can just use this, performance. It's a classical song. It's got to be out of copyright. And you're like, no, because the performance is copyright to the performers at the time that they did it. It doesn't matter if the underlying song is out of copyright. There's also pieces like Happy Birthday was so dubious for so many years, I'm not even going to address it. As far as I know, it has finally been ruled to be out of copyright. But for instance, I'm pretty sure the song Teddy Bear's Picnic, the music is old enough to be out of copyright, but the words are not, because the words were added a decade
But
later.
the carriage would get us there ever so much faster.
Where's Gerald?
He's got places to be too. Cabby!
And so, there's so many different things involved with music. The
Where's Jerry? Where's Gerald? Nah. Where's his lordship? Where's himself?
So Annie is not quite as presumptive as Jane. But so, for instance, pictures in an exhibition, which the original piano piece. I love Pictures in an Exhibition. It's my favorite classical piece. The original was written for piano, by Modest Petrovich Mussorgsky, and that score is out of copyright. But the orchestral version, which was done later, which was rescored from his original themes, might not be, depending on which orchestral version it is. And then on top of that, you've got the different performances. And on top of that, so it just keeps going, and it becomes more and more awkward. So, the best way to find music to use, because music is an ongoing issue with all of us for audio dramas. One thing you can do is you can go find composers, people on SoundCloud and stuff like that, independent artists, and ask them for permission. You can always do that. Some people, like Jack Kincaid of Edict Zero, gets permission from some fairly big names like Nine Inch Nails and stuff, and uses their stuff because he actually talks to them, and he points out that it is truly, he's not making money. He's an artist purely for the art of it. And that's wonderful. He does a wonderful job, and that's why his stuff always turns out so amazing, you know, and he is truly an auteur, kind of all that stuff, and that's great, you know, and he's done that on his own, and people have to do that on their own. I mean, music. I mean, the fundamental thing for music that I would always point out to people is, you know, the first thing you do is you go to Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, and his music is available for everybody to use pretty much, almost all of it essentially free. You have to mention his name. Ooh, such a hardship. And, you know, give credit to his website, etc. And for that, you get to use a ton of music. Of course, the problem is everybody's heard it, because his music is known to everybody. It's in video games, it's in videos on YouTube, it's in short films, it's in long films. It's, you know, and it's the same music. He's got a ton of music, but there are certain pieces that are super easy to recognize if you've heard them a million times. You know, there are other places like that. You can find people on SoundCloud. You can find friends. You can do things like that. There are places where you can purchase the license for music, for very specific kinds of music. And some of that is really good too. It's not necessarily cheap, but you can get a lot of different stuff that way. I mean, once you've got the license, it's generally not a single use or anything like that. And the only time they tend to have restrictions, the restrictions on things like that, just like with sound effects and stuff, the biggest restriction is almost always, do not resell the music as is. Your license does not give you the right to redistribute this without it being in your show. So if I bought, you know, licenses to, you know, 10 songs, I couldn't make an album and just sell it. I could put all those songs into my shows and sell the show, as long as the music itself is not the main focus or able to be cribbed out anywhere.
Cabby!
Ain't we going back?
Nah, we got places to be. But a carriage would get us there ever so much faster.
Where's his lordship?
He's got places to be too. Cabby!
Super short scene, super simple, didn't need to really do anything with it, except clean out between the things and put the background noise in. As usual, I rotate my voices out from center because I don't like having people talking on top of each other's heads, and because it's outdoors, I ran a slightly higher high-pass filter to make them sound a little bit more, to take out a little bit more of the bass, because bass doesn't carry. It's just one way to make it sound a little bit more outdoor.
Cabby!
Ain't we going back?
Nah, we got places to be. But...
You know, and background noise. And there we are. And this actually, the background noise, I forgot. I'm going to rotate that out to way off to the sides to create a very...
Cabby!
Ain't we going back?
fuller sound.
We got places to be. But a carriage would get us there ever so much faster.
Where's his lordship?
He's got places to be too.
So, there's an entire scene. Super simple. Okay, let's see. I don't need to do anything else. I'm going to copy it and then unmix it and just close it. Now, it's not the next scene. I think it's actually 2 scenes down. Something like that. We'll just put it over here for now. I can't even do the linking music just at the moment because it's... But I will make a note underneath that this is 7, just so I keep track. 4, 5, 6, yeah. It's 2 scenes in between. Then 8 is missing a voice. I have been failing in getting somebody to take on the... I've been failing in even remembering to look for somebody to take the voice just yet. So I've got some lines out, But it's my own fault for just not keeping track. This, as I've pointed out several times, this whole thing, much of this was recorded many years ago, and so some of the recordings got lost. Some turned out to just be really bad, and I couldn't use them, and I couldn't get a retake because it's been several years, so I've passed the lines on. And so generally speaking, pardon me. There's been some retakes to do, and I haven't been. And for some reason, I can't even find a cast list of all my cast members for this. So that's been awkward too. It was because it's been tossed around for so long. And so it's just been really awkward. And this is one of those reasons you just always should be, keep up with all your paperwork and stuff. Keep track of who people are. Make sure everybody's getting credit. Now, for anybody who hasn't seen this yet, when we took Jane, we went through each scene twice. So I'm usually just defaulting to our second take scene. I keep the lines from the first scene around until I'm sure that there's no sound issues with the second scene, which is why I'm always popping one out over here. Mainly because I know that when we did the second scene, we'd already gone through the first one. And the first one we keep for, a backup in case of issues more than anything else, because it's like the rehearsal sequence. So, in general,
all right.
It's pretty simple. I hope everybody has survived daylight savings time. Oops, what did I just do? Alright, except I hate it so much. We all do. Like I said, it's just, I swear it's just a government conspiracy to put us all off balance twice a year. Don't laugh, it works. And I think if we could get, I try not to talk politics here, but I think one of the things that I would love to see happen is have somebody convince Trump that Obama started daylight savings time, so he will try to get it to go away. Okay, here again, it's Jane and Annie, and they've gone off somewhere. Okay, and this scene is actually going to transition from outdoors to indoors, so there's a little bit of fun here. As usual, I could make it two separate scenes, but I'm not going to because it is a continuous conversation going on. So, let's start with... I hate not having my clock there. I keep looking up and seeing this stupid broken thing sticking out of my wall like an evil wart. I want my clock. I'm so bad. Alright. Nothing right. And this is just my chapter title.
How do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this?
I've got a lot of weird noise in the background on my track, which is unfortunate. I didn't have my good studio set up yet when I recorded my lines for this years ago. But I still shouldn't have quite that much background noise. I wonder how much anybody can actually hear on those sort of things out there in the atmosphere.
You don't hear
out
nothing?
there.
Right. No one home but the dollies. Well, they're bloody expensive, so I expect knackering them is a bit out of the question.
I'm wondering if all my regulars have succumbed to daylight savings, seeing as how I haven't had anybody in the chat room yesterday or today. At least not as far as I can see. I mean, it's been really weird, and I mean, because usually I've got at least one or two people in the chat room. Oh, it feels very lonely. Oh, you're here. Okay, cool. You are new. I remember you popped in, I think, once before. That's cool. At least I know now that the chat room's working. That helps a lot. You don't have to comment at all. You're welcome to lurk. It's nice to know I'm not talking to empty space. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm willing to work on other things, do some other bits just to demonstrate something if you need it. That's part of what I'm here for. And but at least I know it's not broken.
So?
And I like that one. And then her last.
Ooh-ah. Ooh-ah.
Annie's catchphrase. Ooh-ah. But I'm looking forward to doing the next production, which is my sword and sorcery piece, because that's all fresh recordings that we did in a pretty decent setting, etc. So I don't have to worry about, and I could get retakes on those easily. All of my, I have a core group of actors, and good or bad. I mean, they're all within the competent to very good thing, depending on, because I like working a lot with beginners and kids and teenagers and things like that, where it's less experience, but how else are they going to get experience? But at least I know that everybody is willing to come back and eager to come back and make sure that everything sounds good and stuff. Okay, so I've got quite a few sound effects in this one, actually, for such a short scene. These are how the lines... Oh, let me listen to Jane's lines here, make sure that they sound good before
Simple. Tie 'em up and lock 'em up. Just like anyone else. Good thing Gerald knows where to find all those blokes.
Okay. And so
like anyone else.
I'll get rid of this. So, there we go. Alright. First things first, I need... And this is going to shove around as I put some effects in, but at least I've got the basics down now. I like to have my basic... I need these. I like to have the lines, pared down to what I need first. Then I start adding in effects. That can vary depending on where you are, and yeah, that can, I mean, anybody is welcome to find their own rhythm as far as that goes. I'm not trying to say it's the only way to work, as I've pointed out before. Okay, so it actually doesn't really move that much from one scene to another. They're entering a building at the very end of this scene. So we still have street noises here. And I'm going to... Let's see. The one problem I have with my lovely street noises is there's these bells ringing for large chunks of it. Come here. And I'm trying to make sure I don't have the bells all the time, because otherwise it sounds like you're in a town with some really confused clocks. And I'm also trying to create a sound that they're kind of off the street a bit. So I think I'm not going to do... They're not standing in the middle of the street. I'm just going to have the street sounds off to one side a little here. So because they're in a doorway, basically. And it doesn't necessarily mean there's no street sounds. It just means that I want the street sounds kind of minimized. They're there, but they're not the focus. Okay, then I have the voices, several of the effects. I need the sound of picking a lock. Now I'm gonna have to go hunt through my sound files for this one. Okay, I'll put it into the 8 file. Yeah, the 8 file's pretty full from that last scene I had to do. Let's make it 8. What is this scene? Scene 9. 8, 9 file. I just need lockpicks. I try to, copy. I always copy out of my effects files into a current folder, so I don't have to constantly be searching these with Audacity. I copy them first after I go through them and copy them so that it's easier to find. Okay, metal and stone, latches, keys, hinges. I have a lockpick, I'm pretty sure. It's more of a modern day sound, but I think it's okay. And let's see, latch open. Not quite. Boy, is that squeaky. Need some WD-40 right there. Okay, let's copy that one over first, and then I like that one, but I still want a little bit of a jingle on this. Let's go into keys. Maybe not quite that much. Oh, I like that noise. Okay. So, I always like to mix noises because I one of the biggest complaints that I watch a lot of games. I know I'm jumping around here. I watch a lot of video games, and one of the biggest complaints I hear from the people who are playing the games. I mean, I like watching people play them on YouTube. Hey, somebody's got to, right? Or else they wouldn't be these giant stars like Markiplier. But one of my favorites, a couple of the guys I watch are Mr. Craven and John Wolfe, who are both fairly. They both specialize in horror. I meant to open them all at once. Poop. They both specialize in indie horror games, and they're both extremely annoyed and tired of shitty games. I mean, that's kind of part of half of their routine. John Wolfe used to be harshly critical. I mean, that used to be his name. But he stopped calling himself that, though he still is critical. But most of the stuff he's dealing with deserves it. And Mr. Craven is outright cruel to some of these games, and some of them deserve it too. But one of the things they complain about is stock effects and stock pictures. And what that ultimately means is people who use things just as is all the time, so that all the time something sounds just the same, and or looks just the same, or is just the same in some way without being personalized in any way. Now, there are times when that's fine. I do that sometimes as a joke, almost. Particularly with some of my outdoor noises. I'm like, okay, all my street scenes in modern day have the panhandler going, Jesus is knocking on the door of your heart, because I paid for the license to that track. And I find that guy hilarious. It's sort of one of the things I do for fun. It's in there because I want it there. Not because I don't have options, because I have dozens of options for street noises, and if it wasn't appropriate, I wouldn't use it. If it's supposed to be nighttime or something, and there shouldn't be anybody on the street. But, when you can do something to make an effect sound more complex like this, which sounds way more realistic than any of these little bits by themselves. I'll always add in a little something just to make it sound the way I want it to. And, I've always done this. I've always liked, customizing my sounds a little bit. And, it really has come home to me while listening to these guys that, that helps a lot. And it's not super important. I mean, unless you're dealing with something that's really super recognizable, like the Wilhelm scream or something, where it's obvious that it's exactly the same all the time, and then it turns into an in-joke like the Wilhelm scream has. It isn't a huge deal, but it is something to think about. So I just like doing my own thing. Okay, so the scene actually opens with, I've got all this crap in here. We actually open with pounding on the door, and you might wonder why I move these things around, using in blank space, but I keep adding space into these. I've had experiences where things have gone kind of crazy and you lose some of these spaces and things, and it's older versions of Audacity. It's not current, but even so, it's just one of those once bitten, twice shy things where, okay, that was bad. I don't want to risk that again. I'm willing to move my sound effects around, but I want the voices where I want them, because that's where they're going. I want them to stay in these positions unless I move them. I don't want an accidental thing to shove any of the voices around. Okay, let's see. Pound, 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 pound. This sound effect is going to go here. This is Jane. So is the pound, pound, pound. Annie is slightly off of Jane. Most of the effects are going to be connected to Jane's track. So in this case, Annie's just a little bit to the left. Jane is going to be a little bit to the right. Actually, Jane's going to be, I gotta decide where they are in the soundscape. I know sometimes it doesn't make a heck of a lot of difference. Alright, actually, so I want that there, and this here. This is, oh, hey David. Did daylight savings get you? I hate daylight savings. I've been bitching about it all day. No, not quite, but close. And, let's see. I'm going to have the door open here. And footsteps. And then the door shuts. Okay, let's see how this sounds at this point. Oh, yeah, I think you mentioned that on Facebook. I dropped my clock. I have to go get a new clock. I keep staring up at this broken nub hanging off the wall above my computer. I'm so sad. I changed it and went to put it back up again, and it fell. I mean, it fell at some point after I put it up.
You don't hear nothing? Right. No one home but the dollies.
How do we do this?
Well, they're bloody expensive, so I expect knackering them is a bit out of the question.
So?
Simple. Tie 'em up or lock 'em up. Just like anyone else.
Oh,
Good thing Gerald knows where to find all those blokes.
Okay, then. Move this just a little bit out the end of the scene. It's a little punctuation there. And what I'm going to do then is we'll save this again so that I can mix things. And I'm going to mix Jane's track all down. I think actually Annie's going to be slightly right and Jane's going to be farther right. Well, we have the street off to the left, so they're kind of off the street. And then Jane, they'll move together at the end. Brain damage. And
Whoa.
through this part. Fade in. Except the door is actually going to stay here because they're moving past it into wherever it is they are. So let's see how this sounds.
You don't hear nothing? Right. No one home but the dollies.
How do we do this?
Well, they're bloody expensive, so I expect knackering them is a bit out of the question.
So?
Simple. Tie 'em up or lock 'em up. Just like anyone else.
Oh,
Good thing Gerald knows where to find all those blokes.
And I'm going to take this just to add insult to injury here. Duplicate it. And we're going to put room tone on it because they're going in. I could put reverb on it. I might do that instead. Let's see first. I'll see how reverb sounds. Or G-verb. I prefer to use G-verb. It has a slightly lighter sound than reverb. And never 100%.
oh.
Good thing Gerald knows where to find all those blokes.
A little bit much, but I can take it down another notch on volume.
Oh.
Good thing Gerald knows where to find all those blokes. Thing Gerald knows where to find all those blokes.
Yeah. Okay. This scene altogether then sounds like this.
You don't hear nothing? Right. No one home but the dollies.
How do we do this?
Well, they're bloody expensive, so I expect knackering them is a bit out of the question.
So?
Simple. Tie 'em up or lock 'em up. Just like anyone else.
Oh.
Good thing Gerald knows where to find all those blokes.
Okay. And that one's good. And we mix, copy, unmix, and close. Whoops, sound effect track. Here we go. And this is number 9. Because we're missing some voices. So, let's see. What time are we got? Yeah, we've got time for, I think there's one more Jane and Annie scene in here. That is doable. I've also got one voice in here that I've got to probably... Anyway. Scene 11, another short Jane and Annie scene. They're off doing their thing while the guys are all trying to catch the guy in charge of this whole whatchamagig that they're dealing with. And of course, you know, they don't want the girls in the way, so the girls go off to do something else entirely and mess with them. But I mean, it is consistent. I'm a very big proponent of, if it's set in a historical period, you know, you gotta at least deal with the social norms of the era. And even if you're doing something completely fictitious like this one, the whole, Jane and Annie and monsters and clockworks and everything is pretty crazy. But I still, the guys, it's, you don't involve women in certain things, and you don't do certain things, and frankly, Jane and Annie aren't ladies, obviously, so they don't get the best treatment all the time, and it's just the way it is. So, and the characters
A3.
wouldn't wouldn't expect it any other way, honestly. So it's, but it's so many people. I get so frustrated because I record audiobooks. Yeah, it still has to be believable to a point, but I do so many, particularly in romance novels. I record audiobooks where people are like, oh, well, it's kind of like Victorian England, except, like, there's no racism. And you're like, that's not real. That's not remotely real. Where did you invent that? It's like the Wild West, except women are kind of equal to men, and nobody's surprised when there's a woman sheriff. Really? Right. It's just it just frustrates me. It's like
Oh, like trundling a sack of rambles.
Best to keep
Too
it
bad it
bundled.
won't walk
Just
itself.
on the off chance. Hold on.
Oh,
Set
it's
it down.
like trundling a sack of rambles. Too bad it won't walk itself.
okay, I want some of these though. Let's see. Don't want too much. This is one of those things where you got to keep it tight for timing, but you kind of want to keep all the effort. Oh, my guardian.
It's like trundling a sack of rambles. Too bad it won't walk itself.
Because I want to make sure to include enough effort to convey how effortful how effortful this is, but at the same time, I don't want it to be so much that it's incredibly annoying or too comedic, because, see, that's the thing, is so many people, they don't want to necessarily call it fantasy, because basically that's what they're doing when they're just arbitrarily changing things. But what gets me is, it's like, if you're aiming for a certain audience, if you're aiming for an audience who likes historical stuff, then you better be historical, because your audience is gonna know.
Never get up them stairs. Never get up them stairs.
And that's the thing, is that when you've got an audience who's gonna know that you're dicking around with stuff, they're going to be very critical of it. And so you get people who are like, oh, well, but, it's so funny, and particularly because I record Regency romances. And Regency, oh, hello, that's ours, right? Girl. And, yeah, it's nice wow, we've got a party going on here tonight. To anybody new, totally don't hesitate to ask questions. I am happy to demonstrate things, to explain what I'm doing, to talk more about technique and stuff. I have a tendency to err on the side of, much of my audience have heard me say this before, so I'm not repeating myself. And so, just say, hey, could you say what you were doing just there? Just want to point out. And, yeah, it's like the Middle Ages without bad hygiene, or the plague. Well, absolutely, and...
I will never get up them stairs.
And so there's always, but in the Regency, what gets me particularly is this is a genre that is very specifically run on very specific societal rules. And if you don't know, and that's the point of the genre. The point of the Regency romance is that there are these very strict rules that people have to deal with to interact with each other, and working within those rules or breaking those rules, or I mean the rules are absolutely important to the genre because that's the point. That's what keeps people apart, that's what draws people together. And so when somebody decides, I'm just going to write a Regency romance and doesn't understand the rules, they're cutting off their nose to spite their face because basically you don't understand what
Hold
you're
on.
writing at all.
Set it down. There. We'll shove it in here. Go up and tell Brown we brought it. Let him handle the knocking about. Too bad he slipped loose of Tompkins.
And that's a door. So, and so yeah, but I did one once, and this was I ended up getting out of the series because I'd committed to this series because the first book sounded okay, but in later books, the author just kept
And too bad we wasted all the time to take it there first.
playing fast
And too
and
bad we
loose.
wasted all that time to take it there first. And too bad we wasted all that time to take it there first.
She started playing fast and loose with the rules, and I'm like, that doesn't quite work. And I mean, and they sound silly sometimes. Some of the again dealing with Regency romance, some of the rules are
Did all
fairly
that time to take it there first.
sound kind of silly, but that's what makes the genre. And so what you end up with is autocorrect can be such a beast. And so I mean, little things though matter to the Regency fans because it's the details that sell the story. And I mean, I did wit and wizardry, and my world clearly is not exactly Regency England because there's magic. But even so, I tried to observe all the rules that I understand. But mine, being a little different, obviously, I could play a little fast and loose because the audience knows it's not the real world. But I mean, just oh, let's see here. I got a free audiobook from Verizon. Well, now that's interesting because I haven't done a lot of romances under my name. Most of what I do, well, there's some cowboy ones, but most of them I do under other names. I've got a British pseudonym. I use Eugenie Watson for Regency romances or Beatrice Pendergast, but those are dirty ones. And those are the smutty Regencies. So yeah, a lot of stuff comes up under my name though. I have like 8 different pseudonyms on Audible for different kinds of. It's a sorting device. It really isn't anything else. It's not like I'm all like, oh my god, somebody might reveal my secret alter ego. No, it's more that people who like, well, particularly with the Regency one, yeah, the cowboy ones, those were really good actually. I really liked those. I want to do more of her stuff if I can. Whenever I see it coming up, I audition for it because hers were really good and fun. And anyway, but like with the Regencies particularly, I'm harping on this genre, but it's just in my head right now. We there's I have 2 different names to do it under. I have one for 2 traditional Regency romances that are strictly romance, and then I have one for smutty Regency romances, which is Regency romances that include sex and or any kind of explicit material. And the reason is because the standard, I mean, because a lot of Regency fans don't under any circumstances want naughty bits. And so I don't want people, I mean, so specifically what I've done is I have a name for each different set so that, people can find what they want under me, the narrator, as well as under the authors. You don't want to, if all you want is the traditional clean ones, you don't want to accidentally open up one, get into it, and have it turn all, dirty. It's not uncommon. It's not, like I said, it's a sorting mechanism, really. But okay, first thing that happens in this scene is they're coming in from the street, and the door shuts behind them and cuts out the street noise. So, right there. We'll do that. And they're inside. I need some heavy moving sounds and door opening and shutting again. Anyway, so, it's like I said, that's kind of what the whole point of those are. Unfortunately, there's a lot less in the way of mainstream fiction that looks for female voices, because more often you're ending up with women's voices. They want women for romances and for some fantasy novels if it's like a main character is female, and sometimes I've managed to get a couple of detective novels and things like that, but sci-fi and horror tend almost exclusively, unless they've got a female main character, they're almost exclusively thinking that they want male narrators, which pisses me off. But but I've managed to snag quite a few of them even so. Right now, I'm just trying to wrap up a bunch of projects I was working on. But I was saying, sorry, I'm gibbering while I go on and change all my topics here, that, again, I'm going to move them from left to right again. This is just my standard. I usually have a tendency to move scenes from left to right unless there's some reason to go the other direction. Let's see. I'm going to move these to the top just to get them out of my way so that I can keep working down here. I have that. I need a good deal of noise right in here. Well, see, now there's a huge difference. Yeah, Jewels of Enoch Zero, but see, that's a show. That's not a audiobook. It's the audiobooks that that are often, they, for some reason, a lot of authors just have it in their head that guys are going to be more saleable as voices for detectives and mysteries and stuff. It's a whole different ballgame when you're dealing with shows. Did you get the new episode? The new episode of Enoch Zero just dropped like yesterday or the day before. And it's barely 2 hours long. I haven't yet had a chance to listen to it myself. I am so busy so much of the time. Okay. I have to go hunting for sound effects again. Just a minute here. I'll just keep putting them in here. Let's see. I want body noises. What? Yeah. Season 4, episode 5 just came out. Oh, that's not right. I know I've got some draggy noises. Where are my draggy noises? Poopy doops. Home machine. Could it be under cloth? Draggy noises. Oh, yep. Yeah, there's been some really good stuff in. I mean, Edict Zero in general is really good. I do not compare myself to Jack Kincaid. He is an artist. I am a craftsperson. And I mean, as a writer, I think of myself more as an artist or as an actor, but not in the mixing department. He is just crazy out there in the mixing department. Um, the where are my thumping? Uh, it's so annoying. Okay. No. I thought it was under body falls. Slaps and punches? No. I need dragging noises. Come on. I could use that. Um, but actually, I will tell you one funny thing is that I'm the one who got him into audio dramas. I mean, he probably would have ended up in here anyway. I'm not making any like big hairy, like I am the awesome one who. But he was doing his. He'd been posting his novel Hode's Grim, which you won't find now. I think he decided it was too amateurish and he took it down. But his novel, which I liked, I thought it was awesome. He'd been posting it and been putting in. He'd been doing it as a podcast, doing voices and doing sound effects and stuff. And I was listening to it, and I went and I said, "Hey, dude, I love your voice. Would you do the voice of the devil in my episode Crumping the Devil?" And he did, and he then kind of got into the whole idea of doing audio drama, and then when he wrote it, he I think he wrote he I don't know if he actually wrote Jules for me, but the name is a little bit coincidental. Oh, I'm awesome too. I'm just awesome in my way. And I totally like to give credit where credit is due, but I appreciate your reassurance. I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, everybody has different things, and there's no reason we can't all be fucking awesome. You know what I mean? Except that I cannot find my stupid noises right now. Okay, are they in here? Oh, drags. There's drags. Okay. Um, my own sorting device, and sometimes it still fails me. But then I have been away from it for quite a while. So let's see. Oh yes, human body drag. I could use some of that, but this is why I do it. This is why I sort out my sound effects in whatever this is, the Windows, rather than going straight from Audacity, because it's so much easier to click on these and see them in the media than open up Audacity every single time to see what it sounds like. No. 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 Okay. Alright, that should give me enough to work with. So, that... Oh! Well, thank you. I'm glad you've enjoyed the tone didactics. I know it's just me wandering my brain off and talking about different things, but I do make a few points in there. Thank you. I do a lot of things. That's I have to admit, one of my things is that I'm an overachiever. But I appreciate being appreciated, or I appreciate your appreciation. It's nice to know that people are actually getting something out of it, you know. The worst thing is to just be screaming off into an empty void. Import audio. I want the body fall. I want the drag and the drag. You know, the bedtime stories I've been having a lot of fun with, and plus, frankly, one of the reasons I do that is I'm scouting stories, and I might as well, if I'm gonna read them, if I read them aloud, it takes me slightly more longer because I have to edit them, but at the same time, it gives me a chance to both read them and use them. I mean, okay, lots of weird noises. First, we don't want any of them particularly loud. Let's take these all down some. Come on. Okay. What I'm doing, they're dragging something into this place with them, and so I need some, and it's obviously heavy, and okay, actually what I want this. How's that sound? Almost. And yeah, I kind of like that. Let's see. I don't need the rest of this though. I just need the drag it in and stop. And it's not just a box or an item. It's a large, lumpy shape. Okay, it's a clockwork wrapped in a blanket. So I'm gonna mix those and use this sound in with here with Annie's noises. And and I could put some other dragging in there as well, just to, let's see. No, it's right here. That should be fine. And then we have a door opening, and I want a heavy drag here. Okay, fine, I'll go back to more drags. Anyway, but drag. Because here, the second drag, we can just use a drag without quite as much noise, because the first one, she's dragging it in through a door up some stairs, and the second one is just across the floor. So, this should be a lot simpler. No, stop. Okay. That minus 15 or so. Get rid of it. And comes after the door here. Something like that. Let's see how this sounds. What a drag. Ah. Well, at least she can go slowly. It's not a drag race.
It's like...
Actually, this needs to go back. I need to pull this. And I'm actually going to copy this one. And do a little bit more dragging here. Let's see. This one then, I'll change tempo on it. Drag it out a little bit. Ha ha ha. Okay.
It's like trundling a sack of brambles. Too bad it won't walk itself.
Best to keep it bundled, just on the off chance.
Oh, I will never get up them stairs.
Hold on. Set it down. There. We'll shove it in here, go up and tell Brown we brought it, Let him handle the knocking about. Too bad he slipped loose of Tompkins.
And too bad we wasted all that time to take it there first.
Okay, not quite what I want, but close. Okay, I want to tighten that. I got a little click in her voice here. And I'm going to move this to the end of the scene instead. So we don't have to worry about that or closing the door. Okay. And she says here...
Best to keep it bundled, just on the off chance.
Oh, I will never get up them stairs.
Hold on. Set it down.
Okay, I've got to set it down, so I think I'm going to do this like she's dragging it slowly across, but quieter here. Annie is the muscle, so to speak. And then I can also throw in, like, this noise again at the end of this. Let's try that. Even quieter, though. I really want to make sure it doesn't interfere with the dialogue at all. This first one is okay to be noisy because it's just noisy.
It's like trundling a sack of ambles. Too bad it won't walk itself.
Best to keep it bundled, just on the off chance.
Oh, I will never get up them stairs.
Hold on.
Actually, I want to make sure. Let's see. Yeah, I don't want it to interfere with this line, and this is definitely a line that we'll never get up those stairs that she would just be stopped for. So I'll move this to the end and then fade it in a little bit so that you don't hear the cutoff where I cut it in. So let's see.
Hold on. Set it down. There. We'll shove it in here.
And then I want a little space here so that she can open the door.
Down. There. We'll shove it in here. Go up and tell Brown we brought it. Let him handle the knocking about. Too bad he slipped loose of Tompkins.
And too bad we wasted all that time to take it there first.
And again, I'll move this so that that's actually the scene's gonna go out on that. All right, now for the movement in the scene, because obviously they're moving, and I should put some footsteps in with this as well, because it's not like they're floating. Okay, now for Annie first. I'm just going to go ahead and put footsteps in under as she goes with each of these. She's basically dragging a body in a bag. I could have just left it as if she was just carrying it, but she's not quite that buff. Oh, what you got here? One of my favorite things from Galactic Bedtime Stories was your ad-lib. The car was traveling at 45 miles an hour when a guy runs out, jumps on the car, and safely rolls off to the... Yeah. There's times when I can't help it, and I totally agree with you. There's just moments in some of the old sci-fi stories where I cannot stop laughing. I will freely
Too bad it
admit
won't
that.
walk itself.
Best to keep...
And yeah, that was a particularly funny one. Yeah, some of them I've been finding a lot of really good ones where I have a lot less to comment on, which is good and bad, obviously. But yeah, that one was particularly funny. Okay. Um, let's see. I need to bring Jane down. And actually, this door is in her track, not that track, so it needs to come out of there. And then she's got a couple of footsteps here into the track. As she goes to the door, and I'm going to change her tempo. Ah! If I could remember what my shortcut key was for that, I could do it easier, but it's okay. Thank you. I'm glad that stuff like that gets, people like it, and there's a few times when you end up with like something really really racist or something that I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna say this, but it's or or very, very sexist, which is of course part and parcel of old school sci-fi. Alright, so I've got this pretty much where I want it, I think. Let me listen. Well, you know what? I'm gonna mix it and then listen through it because I want to see how it sounds first. So I'm gonna save it as moving or mapooving. I don't really care whether it's correct when I type something and I just am, I'm the only one who has to read it. So, typo, I speak typo fluently. I'm not too concerned. I'm gonna mix that, and I'm gonna mix these. Okay, Jane's easy. She's just got to move at the one spot. She's actually going to start kind of in because she doesn't really talk until that point in the scene. Let's see. Yeah. She just moves a little bit and then... And Annie, however, is going to move rather a lot through the scene. So, first off, I'll just keep her moving till this point. Now, as I've pointed out before, I prefer to fade in and fade out, and that's one of the things with Audacity, as opposed to other... I know there's other programs that allow for more easy movement within tracks and things, but I like seeing where I'm going, and it's just sort of... Let's see. Is there footsteps under this?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, right here. And I find just sort of this slow hands-on approach works for me. Rather than... Because there's other ones where you can just manipulate it within the track. And I don't know. I like doing it this way. I can see where everything is going. And we'll take it from there. And as you can see, I'll move it. And it'll go from here to here as this one fades out and that one fades in. And then it'll go from here to here, which is slightly to the left to somewhat to the right. And then in this last bit, as she starts to exit, it's going to go off to the right. Into the door, presumably. Okay. So, here's how it sounds all together. Oh, whoops. I'm going to do one more thing. And the one more thing is, we'll put the room tone on it. Shut up, computer. Okay. Okay, let's see how it sounds.
sack of rambles. Too bad it won't walk itself.
Best to keep it bundled, just on the off chance.
Oh, I will never get up them stairs.
Hold on. Set it down. There. We'll shove it in here. Go up and tell Brown we brought it. Let him handle the knocking about. Too bad he slipped loose of Tompkins.
And too bad we wasted all that time to take it there first.
Close enough, but I do want to fade that out. And that's going to actually be under music as it goes. And this damn door with Jane, it's got a ton of underlying noise that I keep forgetting about. Do I want to go back and fix that? I should. I know I'm not really a perfectionist, but some things are just so obvious that they annoy me. But it shouldn't be too hard to fix. It's the stupid door. I keep forgetting there's a lot of noise in its track. I should just fix it. Period. But it's it's in my stupid sound files that way. There's so many sound files where I end up fixing them over and over again, and I shouldn't, because I should just darn well fix them. How stupid. Anyway, apart from that, I think it sounds pretty good. And I just wanted to get rid of the sound, but the sound went under her voice, so I had to go back to the previous version to actually make the alteration so that it would be in the right place. And it's theoretically, it's just a little thing, but it just drives me crazy sometimes. Now, I'm not going to worry as much about changing it in the... I'm not going to worry about redoing the room tone, the room machine track, because it really won't play that much of it.
Set it down. There. We'll shove it in here. Go up and tell Brown we brought it. Let him handle the knocking about. Too bad he slipped loose of Tompkins.
And too bad we wasted all that time to take it there first.
Now this noise sounds actually really bad. It's because I overprocessed it. So I'm going to undo that as well. That's something I did in that previous iteration. I slowed it down by 30, and you start to hear sort of weird noises in it when you do stuff like that, and I should just know better. Okay, whatever. All the orphan block file things that show up usually mean really nothing. I'm just going to use the tracks that I use over here as well, which is the unprocessed version, because that way I don't have to, I won't have that weird chimey artifact sound that I'm hearing. For now, I'm just going to create this track. I'm not saving it. Oops, let's go back over here. And again, this is the reason why I do multiple tracks as well, while I'm constantly saving into a new folder, is because that way I can back it up a little bit if I have to, so that I can fix things like this. I can go back a step and fix it. When, that can be very, very awkward if you haven't. Now, I'm going to just delete this and paste this onto both of these. I'm moving it into the tracks that already exist because I've already got them spaced out where I want here across, rather than just creating a new one and putting it in. It could go either way, but this way I know where I am already. I'm going to blank that, fade this out, fade this in, and then fade it out as well. And this should sound much better, I hope.
I'm too bad we wasted all that time to take it there first.
Oh, and that would have to be redone on the track here. Actually, I'll just take it out. I'll just cut that bit. Bunny, what? Morale, come on. Come here. She's just suddenly being super noisy. Yes, and undo is your best friend. But at least...
I'm too bad we wasted all that time to take it there first.
Okay. Sounds much better to me. Alright, and that's going to fade out under the music anyway. So, then I will highlight everything, mix it, copy it, and unmix it, and close it. And put it over here as yet another scene that's waiting for the connecting scenes to be in there. Yes, Bunny? Why are you so chatty all of a sudden? Yes, that's my cat. Her name's Bunny. She's got bunny fur. She's got soft, long, fluffy fur that gets in everything. Come here, Bunny. Oh no, now she's going away. She's usually super quiet, but just once in a while it's like meow, 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 meow. Alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead and call that a day. We got 3 scenes with Jane and Annie with varying degrees of difficulty, and I think that's gonna work pretty well. Now I just have to get the replacement voices in there for other things. Yeah, Bunny, it's my cat. Well, her name is actually Olivia, but Bunny is her nickname. And my boy cat's nickname is Monkey, or Butthead, depending on what mood he's put me in. Or sometimes Shit Monster. You know how it is. Cats. Okay. Yes, Bunny. Crazy girl. Hey, I've got a project that I'm looking to work on. Among many, obviously. It's on my list of... I'm making a list of vocal sound effects that I can create as like a file and then possibly market to other, keep it cheap, like 100, or not 100, but, a lot of voice effects for like $5 or something. Just market it to other audio dramas for licensing and stuff. And, things like, because you hear the same noises all the time, like I was saying before, in video games and everything else. And having something available with different... Bunny, jeez Louise, what is up with you? She just wants to be famous. But, things like sleeping noises and coughing noises and creepy children's chants and other things that I can just vocally do in my studio. If you think of anything like that you've heard in a show somewhere, screams, cries, moans, there we're getting back into that smut again. Whatever. Yeah, she's just full of beans today, isn't she? And, but anything you think of like that, drop me a line on Facebook or something, and I'll add it to my list and put it in there, because I'm just trying to come up with, so that there's a satisfying amount of sounds to put into such a package. She's cracking me up. What is it? Bunny, come here. Come here, you silly, silly girl. Come here. Of course, she won't make the noises if I get her up close to the microphone. No. Only when she's far away. So I can never record her. Anyway, well, thank you all for coming. I hope this has been informative. And as I've said before, anytime I'm doing something, if you have a question, it doesn't even have to be a question on what's on the screen right now. We can digress. If you have like, I've got this scene and I have to do this, how could I do it? I'm totally happy to go. Oh yeah, the evil Alexa laugh. That's a good one to write down. Yeah, evil laugh, evil Alexa laugh. uh, anything that's just background noise, etc. Because I just want to. I think it'd be fun to put together a package like that. Yep. Good night. And happy recovery from daylight savings time day. And we shall pick up again at this time tomorrow. And hopefully I'll have at least some of the missing voices by then, and we will do this. Thank you for coming. It's been great having new people here today. And yeah, Bunny says goodbye, don't you? Oh, she's already left the room. She has no conscience of her audience. And we are out.